Hello everyone, I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Mom.
And this is Millennial Mom. Welcome back to our recap of Married at First Sight, Season 11, Episode 14, Stranger Spouse. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this seemed like a very long and drawn out 2-hour episode of the couples retreat.
I agree.
So, let's get into the review. Alright, so we start off this episode with Pastor Cal letting us know that they have officially spent 3 months with each other by themselves, self-documenting. I was like, holy, that is a long time. I have felt every inch, minute, and drop of these couples 4 months together. It's like, it was a lot. What did you think, Mom?
Yeah, it definitely was a lot. And you could tell they were trying to maybe add filler episodes the way they were editing. Because honestly, the 2-hour episodes could have stopped a couple weeks ago and condensed down to one because nothing was really happening. The front runners were the front runners. Those who weren't doing well. We saw the same continuous thing week after week after week.
So let's just fast forward on to Amani. Expert Amani, that's what I'm going to start calling her.
Yeah.
Expert Amani goes over to Olivia's place because Brett has left. Olivia is explaining to her, like, yeah, he took everything out the pantry. I don't even have salt for my water. I'm like, Brett, you are a cold piece.
He was a cold piece. It's okay to leave, I guess, but going back and look at the call that Olivia had with him was like, you said you were taking some things over, not everything over, and then just to take the pots, the pans, the clothes, the cat, the spices.
Technically, she said that's everything he brought. So was he really a cold piece and wrong? I still think so.
I mean, bottom line, it was rude and it was wrong. He could have left her something, but okay.
Amani felt so too. So as she was packing up everything, she was like, oh, do you want to take your wedding photo, your wedding album? She was like, yeah, I'll take the album minus the vows. I was like, you might as well take everything you can. I would. But one of the interesting things that Olivia said is that Brett was still like contacting her a little bit, wanted to hang out. I'm like, I'm not too sure if I believe this. Like, would he really still be doing that if he took literally everything?
Or maybe he decided that, okay, maybe I'll stay in contact so I didn't really leave the show. So maybe they didn't ding me like, we've seen in comments, like maybe they get dinged a certain percentage if they leave early. So maybe that's still keeping in contact.
Yeah, but then on the flip side, she also said that he gave her permission to date whoever that she wanted to date. So to me, it's like, was this just a level up for Brett? Was he just testing the waters to see what he can do so he can continue on his serial datingness?
I don't know, but I don't consider that a level up for Brett. I mean, Married at First Sight.
On TV, Mom.
Yeah, but it's Married at First Sight, so it's not dating. It's not a dating reality show, so this is a different kind of level.
Well, nonetheless, Olivia says she still believes in love, even though she didn't get exactly that fairy tale ending she was looking for. So, hopefully, she'll get it. We see our second expert Woody, go over to Henry's house.
Well, I mean, if they're the experts, they're married together, Amani and Woody, the new Married at First Sight experts.
Exactly. He's at Henry's house just to get in touch to see how Henry's doing with Christina. Henry lets us know Christina still has not been at the house, and he's still a little bit pressed about the gay comments that she made towards him. So when Woody's asking him, how are you guys doing? Are you evolving? Like, what is the tea? When Henry breaks down everything that has happened before he even got to the gay comments, Woody's facial expressions just took me out because he was like,
but you know what? Woody is very, imaginative with his face, shows his emotions or whatever. But I mean, wouldn't you? I think that would be anybody like, what? Who? She texted what? About you? Because at the end he was like, nah, it wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be able to do it.
No, he had to sip the wine first. But Woody is like, this is like major stuff. She dropped a missile on you. And Henry's like, this is kind of like the climax because everything that she's been saying and doing so far has been, dishonest, and he hasn't really trusted her because she's been like full of drama. And then I didn't peep this scene, so production had to throw this scene in when we found out that Christina called herself a flamboyant liar.
Yeah.
I've never heard flamboyant liar in my life.
That just shows Christina's character.
So Woody is like, well, how do you see this playing at the retreat since we're all going to see each other? Henry has a prediction because he knows Christina after 4 months that, she's going to play it cool, play it off like nothing happened at all, just to make herself seem like, the good person or bigger person. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that to be true.
Well, I mean, that's happened every time they've gotten in a disagreement or whatever each week that we see, because they're always, that communication thing is not there. So each week, what they separate and then they come back like, okay, well, I think we can try. So that is her MO. And honestly, that's his too.
Now let's jump to Miles and Karen. So Karen is a little bit concerned about finally being able to go somewhere with a group of people because of the Rona. And I don't know why I forgot a little bit about this, but the start of all the racial injustices that was happening at the end of like April-ish, May. But I'm not trying to be hard on Karen. She said that she would rather just spend some alone time. I'm like, with who? With yourself? Because you already spent 3 months with Miles, but y'all haven't really progressed. So I'm confused.
As far as Karen talking about she wanted to spend alone time, I felt the same way. Like, with who? With yourself, because it's not with Miles, because, I touched on it last week, and I'm going to be a little more calm this week, that you've had extra time to get to know Miles, and the same scenario is going on. Like, you're still over here, and he's still over there, so who do you want time with? I mean, time away from work, maybe. I think that's what she was alluding to. Since she's in healthcare, she may need time to herself to decompress.
Okay, so transitioning back to Christina, because now this is where all the couples are packing up to get ready to go on the retreat. Christina is back at the house, getting ready. Christina and Henry aren't talking to each other, but Christina says, they haven't talked. She doesn't really know where they stand, and, she doesn't 100% believe that he's gay, but just based off of him and her dealings in the past, she thinks that Henry's gonna make it seem like she's a lying person.
You know what, that scene for me with Christina, I was like, throw it all away. Throw it all away. You said before now that you were a flamboyant liar. This just goes to show exactly what Henry said, that you're going to come back to the house and act like nothing was wrong. That's exactly what you did. And in confessional, he's like, oh, well, Henry's going to make it seem like No, you did send a text saying things about Henry, about his sexual persuasion.
Well, she acknowledged that part.
Yeah, but still, making me seem like I'm a liar. Where's the lie? And then Henry did say, he asked her, so where's the text? It magically disappeared. Now, we've seen this before in another Mav season, but we won't touch on that here.
I feel like Henry downplayed it too. Having someone do that or say that once again towards you, and you kind of don't really say anything, especially on camera because you brought it on camera, I feel like isn't really a good look for Henry either. I don't know. I just feel like Henry could have did more because he's always so much expressive with everyone else except for Christina. So moving on to the cabin scene, the first people we see pull up are Miles and Karen. And Karen says, she's still struggling with the intimacy part with Miles because they haven't really emotionally connected. And then on top of that, she says she kind of feels the stress from the experts.
And I just want to know, where's the growth? Because for me, the answer is none. Her narrative changes every week to suit her needs. I mean, this is not for their needs, it's for her needs.
But do you feel like the experts are putting on added stress to her to be this way instead of her naturally still taking her time a few months later to get to this way?
Well, that's Karen's thing. She keeps saying, she wants things to progress naturally. And everyone does. Everyone wants things to progress that way. But No, I don't think the experts are pushing her. If they were pushing her, they would have been there every week. To be honest, Skype, Zoom, text, something.
Thank you, Mom. Continue on. When they go inside their cabin, it looked very hot. It looked a tad musty, just a little bit, because if it's hot, it's gonna get musty. And then it looked like it had a lot of mosquitoes. But they're in the South, in Louisiana. I expect for there to be lots of mosquitoes.
I think the cabin was supposed to be secluded, and it looked secluded. Rustic. It did seem old, and the insulation, I think, made it seem like it was hot because it looked like it was steel, and it was a different kind of layout. But I'm glad they had different cabins because I don't know how well they all would have got along under one roof.
The next people to arrive are Amelia and Bennett, and of course they're already cool with everything, the layout, the scenery.
Yeah,
they're fine. Next to arrive are Christina and Henry. They're looking around, trying to make small talk, but the whole time that they're talking, it just made me feel uncomfortable because I still feel like there's tension in the room. There's a big elephant in the room, but they're trying to make it seem like everything's going well so far. Oh, this room, I like this room. Oh, maybe you can be in this room. They're going to be in separate rooms, which we already pretty much knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
Then we see Woody and Amani, and they just wrapped up everything I was feeling. He said the mosquitoes. She said she don't do bugs. She don't do the outside. I was like, I knew it. I didn't even have to be there to know it. They said it for me.
But my thing is how we got in the car like, ooh, mosquitoes. I'm like, don't act like there's no mosquitoes in New Orleans. Maybe not the same kind, I guess, but they just weren't expecting it. And once all the couples got to the retreat, after they see their rooms and everything, they come together to the main kitchen to cook, have drinks, come together.
I was like, you know what? I'm actually happy that Brett isn't there. I feel like the tension with Henry and Christina, plus him already not liking Brett in the same room, I think that would have made him explode. I think so.
When the couples asked, so, has anyone heard from Olivia? That's when Amani piped up and was saying how she went over there to assist Olivia get her things together and how she was feeling. And I think some of the people in the room were like, we kind of saw this coming. Did you get that?
The only person who I got that from was the only person who spoke up, which was Christina.
Yeah, because you know what? Christina had a epiphany from her life before, like how she's always dated jerks and a-holes, and how she just really felt for Olivia because she did not deserve that.
Right. I was like, why is she crying? And then on top of her crying, I was with Woody on the scene like, girl, you have your own problems to be worried about. Like, this is not the time or the place for you to even chime in about anything. On top of that whole conversation, why is Bennett eating with the whisk?
And why does this still seem to throw you?
Because I'm just like, there wasn't an extra fork, a spoon.
Just to be eclectic. Plastic. That's just what they do.
But speaking on them, he decides to reveal to everyone that him and Amelia have finally had sex together. And he was happy for this. And everybody else was happy for this. Miles didn't look so happy about it, but it wasn't shade that he was trying to throw with his face. It was more so he wanted to be very transparent with everyone that he liked that they were having this conversation and that they were being open, but he can't fully enjoy himself at this moment and be present because of all of the racial tension that was happening at the time and that's still happening now. And I, just like Karen said too, was very happy that Miles spoke up about this, especially on camera, because on reality TV, even for us, when we watch it, we want to escape and everything, but sometimes real life takes over, the perception of everything's going smooth. Karen, I'm really happy, like I said earlier, that she backed Miles up because she usually doesn't, especially when he's being emotional and opening up. So I was like, okay, is Karen actually starting to feel Miles?
No, but the thing is, I'm glad that Miles said what he said, because one of the things I thought he was going to say was that it triggered his depression. And with Karen co-signing that for him, I was like, that's good. I'm glad she did say that. on camera, but at the same time, I still feel there's a huge disconnect with Karen and Miles.
You are not going to let that go, period. Okay, but also touching on that, Christina was very talkative at this table because Christina also piped up and was like, I really feel for you. I'm sorry for everything that you're going through. It's unfortunate. So I'm glad that her not being a person of color actually did speak up. I thought it was going to be Bennett or Amelia, but maybe they did off camera, so.
Maybe, but Bennett and Amelia's faces showed empathy, so they probably did say something off camera or, was edited out for that we didn't see. And I think Christina did feel emotion for that too, but at the same time, I still think that Christina was trying to deflect, just as Henry was trying to say, because of the things that's going on, and she didn't want their issues coming to the table when, truth be told, just about everyone knows about those issues. It just hasn't been said out in the open.
Then Bennett moves their conversation to how them having this extra time with each other can help them build a relationship. And also this time at the retreat can, help them realize different tensions between two people, because sometimes it can be a little bit consuming. And then Christina jumps in and says, yeah, it can be really overwhelming. Everyone's face at the table was like, Christina, you just need to stop.
And also, when Woody was talking, he was saying that, this time was meant for a reflection. And pretty much, if you don't know by now, if you want to stay for the decision day, now's the time for that self-reflection. And we should all be here to find out if that's what we want to do.
So the next thing we have is Amelia and Bennett. Amelia wakes up with a book on her face. I'm like, how is that possible? Bennett wakes her up and lets her know that she was singing in her sleep, and then says, I was doing the worm while you were sleeping. So he decides to practice that. I was like, why are we having this scene? We have this scene because it's transition scene with all the couples, because Henry starts talking about how do they see Amelia and Bennett? Do they see them going all the way, especially with them, moving on to kissing, to doing other things? The other couple's like, yeah, we can see them going all the way. But then our expert Amani decides to bring the questions back around on Henry, because she said, you know what, they want to know everything about everyone else, but Henry and Christina never talk about themselves.
And then when the question came back around to Amelia and Bennett, like, would you move with your spouse if they had to leave to go for another job? And Christina was like, nope, I wouldn't move. I wouldn't move. Wait, unless it's for a job. And then I think she caught herself.
She's a whole flight attendant, supposedly.
Well,
allegedly.
I mean, we learned last week she wasn't at the CBD or at Airbnb, so is she really a flight attendant?
When Amani was trying to get Henry just to open up about the relationship, he was like, maybe I should go refill my plate. Or, hey, Christina, how about you answer the question? Amani's like, no.
Henry and Christina weren't talking to each other, and I think that the other couples knew that, so they were trying to get them to communicate. But if it's not there, it's not there, and I know why the other couples did it, but it just wasn't working. Week after week after week, it's the same song, it's the same dance. And then with using derogatory texts, whether they're true or not, how do you think you can get past that? Henry's not willing to. He's not. You may have seen a glimmer of hope along the way, like during the honeymoon when he paddleboarded by himself. Can you think of another time where there was a glimmer of hope? Because everything else was production if Christina told the story. So the answer is no.
I was thinking really hard. But Woody said, enough of all this. It can't be a little bit of hope. Then Amani was like, we still have hope. He was like, not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is all these possibilities and tryings. If you're not really trying, what's the point of still being there? Because everyone knows that they're not trying. So it's really, even when I said for Karen and Miles a couple weeks ago, it's exhausting. I think this time we actually had a few good scenes with Karen and Miles this episode. I think you might disagree with me a little bit, but I think we saw them progress a little bit more like on her terms.
Oh.
So when they're outside playing that game, I have no idea what it's called. They looked like they were having fun. Miles wasn't winning, but he was still being super supportive of her, just hyping her up the whole time. The usual Miles thing that he does. He decides to ask, going up to decision day, what do you need, basically, for you to say yes? She says more genuine conversations. She feels like they haven't had a lot of genuine conversations so far within the 3 extra months that they've been in the house together. I don't know how that's possible, but that's what she said. And, she said they're still working on that. She's still trying to work on being emotionally attached to him. He says that, for him to possibly say yes, he needs more clarity and affection. Basically, the same things that we have already been hearing and we all in the comment section have already been discussing.
Right. And I know Miles is asking just to see if anything has changed. Unfortunately, it hasn't changed. And I think that Karen has taken this time now that Miles has said last week he was pretty much cool on you. Has taken the time out to think a little bit more about it. Okay, well, if we talk a little bit more, because she did say, it's starting to happen a little more. Mm-hmm. So I think that played in her mind maybe I need to start talking before he really decides I'm not the one. But honestly, I think he's already there because there's so much that still hasn't happened progressively moving forward.
Well, moving forward from that, we see Amelia and Bennett because they have a task along with a few other couples to write a letter to their younger self to what they would tell themselves when they got older. Mm-hmm. So Amelia goes first. I didn't take down all the notes on what she said because she said a lot. She told herself, don't sweat the petty stuff and don't pet the sweaty stuff. Did I say that right?
You did, but why would you need to write that down? I mean, because you knew whatever she said was going to be out there, but she wrote that to her 10-year-old self, and then at the end of the letter she was like, well, one day you're gonna get a call from this nice lady, you're gonna meet your husband on a reality show, mm-hmm. and here I am, I met you. She's like, oh, so sweet. But when Bennett did his letter, it was funny, but it wasn't funny, but it was funny.
Why was it funny to you?
Because he was like, to my 9-year-old self, when you get that first-rate Pokemon card, and her face dropped like, Pokemon? Mm-hmm. Is he serious? He was. When your friend asks you to hold the card, say no, pretty much. And she was like, he's serious. Right. And he was serious because he kept going on with that. And the end of his story was that card would have been worth, he either said $20,000 or $20,000 mm-hmm. to this day. And then he closed his notebook, and she was like, huh,
that was nice, but I thought you were going to say something about me. I was like, oh, Amelia, did you find something that you didn't like about Bennett now?
Exactly, that's what I thought too. And Bennett was like, no, I say a lot of amazing things to you as it is. So
right, he tried to clean that up really quick. He tried to come back with it. I was like, okay, Bennett, I see you trying to be slick with it, but Amelia wasn't feeling it, period, no matter what Bennett said.
Right.
But now we move on to Christina and Henry because they had the same letter. Mm-hmm. Now, for this one, I didn't write anything with them down about what they said in the letter because I wasn't really listening, because I knew it wasn't going to be 100% authentic or say anything about their relationship, because I knew Christina was going to say something about her past and cry, which she did.
Well, that was the whole point, is to write a letter to your younger self. What would you say to yourself at a particular age to what you know now? And so it's not about the relationship, but the key is Christina was, and I didn't write none of this down because there's nothing to write down. She went back to talk about how things in her past hurt her, but how she would get past them and grow up and learn that there was differences and that you can get through them. And she got emotional about it because clearly Christina hasn't lived the life that she felt maybe she was going to live. And I think that's most people, when you plan your life but you get to a certain point, it's not sometimes how you turn out to be. And then Henry was just looking like, okay, the look that you get.
I was feeling that too. I was like,
And then when Henry wrote the letter to himself, his letter was like to himself that would still hold true to this day.
But the opposite happened. Christina had the same face that Henry had when she was reading her letter.
But it's just going through the motions. I mean, this is something that they needed to do, I guess, that was asked for them to do, because
I don't think they really need to do it because there's still tension. There's still an elephant in the room.
I think
they both didn't. Sorry, Mom, but they both didn't understand what either of them were saying. So I felt like it was a loss.
I think they had them do it because it's writing their emotions down. Because since they're not verbal, maybe they could write it and then say it to express themselves. But it didn't work.
Later, when we see Woody and Amani, they actually had the same task as Miles and Karen. So they're playing a game with dominoes, going to ask about decision day for their bet. Woody's going to get a massage if he wins. And Amani's going to get another coupon.
You know, when she said she wanted a coupon, I'm like, was she thinking about another coochie coupon? That's what I thought. Well, because, you know, some of the coupons that Woody gave her was like section a shower, you know, sexual things, or foot massages. I'm like, she's looking for another coupon. She may have cashed in already.
Man. Okay. So, as they were playing the game and they were talking, we found out that Woody's basically deal breaker would be if she did not open up to him, aka like Karen, before decision day.
Right, like if she went back and was being indecisive of things that she didn't want, like when she was a few weeks ago, like, you know, I don't know if I want to do this.
No, not a few weeks ago, Mom. 3 months ago.
Whatever. You know, like as far as like, can you separate your clothes instead of having your clothes in a pile? Like, can you separate them to color, stuff like that. Just being indecisive. And hers was if he flipped the script, like if he changed, like if he stopped doing the same patterns.
Like I thought he was going to do, but
like cooking or just doing the small, simple things that he's doing. Like she would probably have to like rethink her decision.
But in all, they said that, you know, looking at the other couples, they recognize that they actually have a good relationship with each other. They've been very transparent with each other. So they don't really see that happening. And in the end, Amani won. So she did get another coupon.
Now we have quick scenes where the guys meet up together and the ladies meet up together. So we'll start with the ladies, and Christina is the one that starts asking the questions. And I'm surprised at that. Normally it's Amani, right? But Christina was like, so how do you guys think it's going into marriage?
Well, it's Christina because she doesn't want to really talk about her marriage.
Right. What makes you happy? Things like that. And Amelia said that what's making her happy is how Bennett decided to come with her to Virginia. She's very happy about that.
She didn't see it any other way. When Amani asked, okay, so I know you guys haven't really been open with each other like that because of the awkward conversations, but at least have you been honest? Christina says no. I was like, Christina admitted to not being honest, but she didn't really say who was not being honest. Was it her or was it him?
The question was, were you being honest?
So when this goes over to the guys, Bennett says, you know, he's happy that he's moving because there's nothing really going on in New Orleans right now. There's nothing going on in Virginia right now. So he's kind of not missing out on anything. It's just when everything starts opening back up. So now when we go to Henry and his conversation about Christina, he basically talks around in circles, doesn't really give a direct answer. And that's kind of what Bennett says in a confessional too. Like, he didn't know what he was saying. Moving on to Miles. Miles says, you know, with him and Karen, they're still trying to figure out things because they mesh well together as a friendship vibe, but something isn't clicking for him. Later on, when Miles and Woody connect, he talks about that a little bit more with Woody, and Woody's, once again, he's just like, you know, you better than me. It couldn't be me, because it just seems like she's, you know, moving slow at her own pace, but she's really, like we've been saying, not giving you anything. And Miles knows this. He recognizes this. And he says, well, he does appreciate the little steps that she's taking. Like, how can he know if he wants to be with her forever if all they're doing is, you know, touching shoulders and kissing sometimes, if any of the time.
And one of the things, too, when Miles was explaining this to Woody, you can see the frustration on Miles's face. You could. And I was like, wow, like this frustration. Karen must have seen it that one time with the cool on you look. And one thing that Woody said that I thought was like, it's about time somebody said this, because I say it all the time. Like, you came on Married at First Sight you're going to marry a stranger. Things are going to progress differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the issue? Pretty much. And I was like, it's about time somebody said that.
The last part of the episode is the stranger spouse game. Now it's like, okay, are they trying to reference Stranger Things, or were they being shady to the stranger bracelets?
Honestly, if they had a pastel stranger bracelets, it would have been over for me. Wouldn't have been no video.
Well, as they begin to play the game, of course, everyone thinks that they're going to win except for Christina and Henry. So the first question was, does your husband fold or crumble toilet paper? I thought this was a really weird question to ask, because does it really matter if someone folds or crumbles the toilet paper? The other answer that I thought was interesting was, who was the tidiest of the two? Now, were you surprised with Amelia and Bennett's answer?
No, because Bennett likes to clean, Amelia doesn't, so that was easy.
Right, I was like, she doesn't even wash her dishes all the way, so we knew it wasn't going to be Amelia.
Right, but the other questions were, how many exes do you have? Of course, Miles got that one.
Mm-hmm.
Who's more apt to be a criminal? Henry said Christina. Different little things. She was actually like low-key upset about that. But overall, it was a game where they can all connect and they all actually seem to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I was surprised at the winner. The winners were
Miles and Karen.
Miles and Karen.
Well, they don't do anything else but talk. They should win. All right, everyone, that was the end of this week's episode. If you stayed through this whole video, because I know this episode was super long, it might have been a little bit boring even for us. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave a comment down below and let us know what you thought about this episode. Mom, how'd you feel? We already know how you feel. But
this is the first episode that I really felt was unnecessary. Like, I just thought it was long-winded and extended. But it looks like next week, or whatever decision day is, we're going to see Olivia come back again. And there might be something that she may want or decide.
I hope not. So, once again, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Thank you to all our new subscribers and all our old and loyal subscribers. We appreciate you guys so much.
And as always, live simply, be grateful.